What's going on, everyone? I am just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why Greenland is part of Denmark. With all the, recent news and honestly insanity, where Donald Trump threatened to invade Greenland. So many Americans learned for the very first time that Greenland is actually part of the Kingdom of Denmark. So I actually realized that I have absolutely no understanding of this part of history. So today, I want to learn about why Greenland is part of Denmark. So let's take a look.
Denmark is not a very big place. The Danish realm is absolutely massive.
Is that how big Greenland really is? That is enormous. I feel like most Americans really don't understand how big Greenland is. And Denmark is very, very, very tiny by comparison. I really, American, we're not really known for like being good at geography and stuff, but I feel like I seriously didn't understand the scale, the size of these countries. Like if you look, hold on, if you look at like a map of the world, like like this, like this, like this is what they show us in school. Look at this. This makes Greenland look tiny, compared to the United States. It looks like small, right? But this map, I think this is the scale. Huh. Okay. I'm already learning things.
And this is exclusively down to the inclusion of Greenland. And given its size, its important position, and its distance from the nation of Denmark, this raises a question. How
Yeah.
did it come to be in the possession of the Danes, and how did they keep it?
Yes. Yes, like I said, this is like we are not taught about this in the United States. So when I heard that Greenland is part of Denmark, or yeah, like we don't understand why or how that happened. It certainly makes like it's technically the Kingdom of Denmark, or I'm not sure how that works, but let's see.
This raises a question. How did it come to be in the possession of the Danes, and how did they keep it? So, by the 10th century, the Danes and Norse Vikings had been sailing all over Europe doing what they do best. And part of that was settling lands like the Faroe Islands and Iceland. Some Norsemen
Oh,
opted to go west and came across Greenland, where they too settled.
oh, so we're going way back to like Vikings. Now, Vikings are, I mean, I don't know much about Vikings, but that's popular in American culture, like Viking TV shows and like movies and stuff. But these are real Vikings, like Danish Vikings, who it's actually incredible to hear like how you explored all these islands, and people actually did stuff like that, like without like modern technology. That's incredible.
And it wasn't long until one of these settlers, Leif Erikson, travelled from Greenland to North America, becoming the first European to ever do so.
Leif Erikson, we're taught about him. I know that name. First European to North America, right?
Greenland was already poorly populated, and as such was mostly ignored by the Norwegian monarchy, although it was a formal part of the kingdom. And this was mostly down
Okay.
to a lack of communication, since a round trip from Greenland to Trondheim took many months. By the
Sure.
15th century, mostly due to the plague, the Norwegians were gone, and in their absence the Portuguese laid claim to the land.
Oh, it was Norwegian Vikings? I guess that like went to Greenland, and but Norway didn't really want Greenland, and Now who has Greenland?
By the 15th century, mostly due to the plague, the Norwegians were gone, and in their absence, the Portuguese laid claim to the land.
Portuguese. I didn't know they had any part in this story. Okay.
That said, they never did anything there, and so everyone just ignored this claim. At the turn of the 16th century, empire was very fashionable, and not wanting to be left out, the Kingdom of Denmark-Norway, ruled by one man with two different titles, sought to colonise Greenland again. And in the 18th century, Greenland joined Iceland and the Faroe Islands as a formal part of the Kingdom of Norway.
Oh. Was that was that peaceful? Was there a war? It's hard to imagine because Greenland is so freaking far away, right? Like, how many miles away is that? But somehow it's just part of the kingdom of. This was when it was Norway, Denmark was like a kingdom, and then they included Iceland and Greenland, like by force, or did they just join with, you know what I mean? Like, how did that happen?
Seems pretty simple who it would belong to, but in came Napoleon to complicate things, as always. Now, Denmark made one...
Napoleon? Okay, Napoleon is part of this story? What the heck is going on here? I actually thought this was going to be like a pretty simple, straightforward history. Like, oh yeah, Denmark met up with Greenland and they signed a treaty. Or no, we got Napoleon.
But in came Napoleon to complicate things, as always. Now, Denmark made one silly decision during Napoleon's tenure, which was to be his ally. This led to two outcomes. First was that Britain shelled Copenhagen, finally teaching the Danes how it feels to have a bunch of angry ships turn up off your shore and set things on fire. The second outcome...
Oh my god. Okay, so there's a lot of Danish history I don't know about, apparently. Oh my god.
Was that the Kingdom of Denmark-Norway lost Norway to Sweden in the Treaty of Kiel. As part of this treaty, it was stated that whilst Denmark would lose Norway, it would retain the Faroe Islands, Iceland and Greenland, which were then increasingly settled by the Danish in the following century.
I have to say, I don't feel like they're going to explain... How did Greenland agree to become part of Denmark-Norway originally? Did they just wanted to? Like, there was no war or invasion or anything? Or did I miss something?
In 1867, Denmark was approached by the United States with a cash offer to buy Greenland and Iceland.
Okay, now we're getting to some stuff that I've heard about recently. Okay, so from what I understand, Greenland joined Denmark, Norway. Then Norway became part of Sweden, and Denmark was just left with Greenland, once that deal or whatever was done. Okay, fair enough. That's how that happened. Happened a long time ago. Sounds that all happened like 400, 500 years ago by the sound of it. Okay. And then this I've heard about a little bit where I didn't know this growing up, but, recently, since Greenland has become part of the news, apparently the United States made an offer to purchase Greenland? I didn't know that till very recently.
Denmark was approached by the United States with a cash offer to buy Greenland and Iceland. Because if you can buy Alaska, why not Greenland? The Danish said no. Norway would go on to gain its independence in 1905
and Trump was actually trying to use that as some reason for why Greenland should belong to the United States, because we offered to buy it 150 years ago. That means anything. And Denmark said no. And somehow Trump was trying to use that or something. Now that I understand, that's so stupid.
Immediately disputed Denmark's ownership of Greenland.
Oh wait, hold on. Let's back it up a little bit.
Go on to gain its independence in 1905 and immediately disputed Denmark's ownership of Greenland.
Norway became independent from Sweden. This is hard to keep track of. We do not learn about Scandinavia, Nordic history in the US. This is not a part of what we learn. So bear with me. Norway is actually contesting that they should own Greenland. Really?
Nothing much was done though until 1931, when the Norwegians, led by the explorer Helge Ingstad, sailed to Greenland and settled this region. They did this because, as far as they were concerned, the Danish were only given the occupied area of Greenland in the Treaty of Kiel and not all of it.
Whoa. Is there a part of Norway in Greenland? Like the northeast? Or Greenland is so freaking gigantic. Um, and it looks like people actually mostly live on the coast, huh?
This dispute went to international arbitration, and in the end it was decided that Norway needed to calm down and leave, which they did in
Oh.
1933. So
Oh.
after this, Denmark's ownership of the island was fairly secure. The
Oh.
exception was in World War II, when after the fall of Denmark, Greenland was occupied by the United States for the rest of the war. When
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. What is this? This is amazing because the United States actually pops up in some of this history, and I had no idea about that. This is part of US history a little bit, and we're not taught about this.
the island was fairly secure. The exception was in World War II, when after the fall of Denmark, Greenland was occupied by the United States for the rest of the war.
Oh. Okay, I'm sure Trump loves that. Oh my god. Because I know he was trying to come up with any reason why to give legitimacy to the U.S. threatening Greenland. It's outrageous. But in World War II, Denmark was invaded. Oh my God! So the United States occupied Greenland when Denmark was invaded, occupied. Okay.
When peace was restored in Europe, President Truman offered the Danish a pretty large sum of money in return for Greenland.
We tried to buy it again. I didn't know that. Oh my God. So the U.S. really, really has wanted Greenland. As an American, I think most Americans have no idea about this. No idea about this. Huh. We offered to buy it again.
This was because its geographic position was valuable in controlling the North Atlantic, specifically preventing the USSR from doing anything there. Again, Denmark said no, and afterwards Greenland was formally incorporated into the Danish realm, gaining...
Okay, so is Greenland... Because from what I understand now, Greenland is like a sovereign nation that governs itself, right? But Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. So it's not totally independent, or maybe they're going to explain that.
more autonomy over the following decades. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Oh, that's it? So they just have some autonomy?
USSR from doing anything there. Again, Denmark said no, and afterwards Greenland was formally incorporated into the Danish realm, gaining more autonomy over the following decades.
Oh, so Greenland is part of the Danish realm, the Kingdom of Denmark. I think Greenland has its own government, and like they said, it's gained more and more autonomy. Like, I guess it's kind of similar to how, like, Australia and Canada and other places used to be part of the British Empire, and they still, like, have the king of the king of Britain on their money. Like, they have that relationship. Like, their king is still the king of Britain, but they're independent nations like Canada and stuff. Is it kind of like that, where Greenland kind of answers to Denmark because of historical reasons and has those ties, but Greenland has gained more and more independence? That's what it sounds like to me. So, regardless, that clears up to me why Greenland is part of Denmark. That was the big question I had. A lot of Americans, we do not understand all this stuff. So it's so good to finally like understand at least most of the story about this. So that's very interesting. History is very interesting. We are not taught about this stuff. We really focus on American history. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on this whole history lesson, or if you know about this stuff, or that'd be cool to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.